Dear ladies and gentlemen, friends, partners of the event, very welcome. For me, this is live event, first in a year and a half. So I think it's great opportunity, again, that we meet each other, that we are not only on Zoom, on all other digital platforms, and I'll say finally again, that we can see each other, that we can network later on, and that's our idea, that we connect people. We at the Slovenia Times as an organizer, we are international media. We actually have we were faced with much more views on a digital platform there than ever, but that's not the same, I think. On the other hand, as you know, the distribution of magazines were banned in Slovenia. The newspapers were locked down, so we are happy to slowly coming back again. And of course, this is my great pleasure that I see all of you here today, and this is our first event in a series of 4 events for the time being. We talk with our partners, the Slovenian-German Business Commerce and 4 Points Hotel, that we organized here on that venue, 4 events. 2 of them will be more HR focused, like you professionals are. 2 of them will be more towards investments. And so every month we will have one of that events, and hopefully we will continue with live events, and that the general situation in Slovenia will be so good that we can meet each other again. So, but first of all, I would like to give a floor to our partners. One of the important partner, of course, we are all important, but German-Slovenian business commerce is our partner, and I'd like to give a floor to Ms. Gertrud Rantzen to share a few ideas with us.
Dear Dragan, thank you very much for giving me the floor. Thank you very much to give us the opportunity to have this joint event today. A very warm welcome from my side, dear members, dear guests, dear friends. It's really a great pleasure. It's not for us the first event where we meet lively, but it's the first event which takes part here in the new hotel 4 Point Seasons, and I'm very happy that we can have this tour of our members this event today. It's a very specific event, and I'm really looking forward what will be the outcome of today. We as a German Slovenian Chamber of Commerce, of course, we are a bilateral organization. We usually speak German or Slovene. Okay, me not, I can listen in Slovene but not speak, yeah. But we belong to a worldwide network, over 90 chambers worldwide in over 90 countries. And this is quite a success story also of our chamber and also of our members. Of course, we don't have only German members, but also Slovene members, and I'm very happy to see a few of them here today. Also of those who don't know us quite well. So I'm looking forward for today's discussions. I have seen here a long, very interesting group of people, experts, as I learned, influencers, specific people, and I think this will be quite an interesting topic. Of course, we know that it's very difficult to find, especially now in this pandemic times, qualified workers or employees. Not only in the IT industry, which is the topic of today's event. And it might be also, especially in this technical group, that is also depending on this, let's say, educational system, especially in Slovenia, because you have in Slovenia still more people who are going for social science than to go into this technical studies. This also applies for Germany. So this is which goes hand in hand. The Germans are quite smart, because do you know what the Germans are doing? Yeah, and you can discuss about that as well. They employ Slovene IT experts, they pay a lot of money, yeah, so, and of course, this is also a challenge. Yeah? So I'm looking forward what will be your ideas, and as we will speak today really in English, so that I can maybe also give another contribution of the German point of view. So, pretty much welcome, and yeah, I'm looking forward for the discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Rantzen. I'd like to share a few words with the director of 4 Points Hotel, Mr. Dragan Ćulibrk. Welcome.
Thank you. I will not use a lot of your time now in the intro, since I know everyone is eager to start the talk, since it's quite an interesting topic on schedule today. But I would really like to welcome you all here in our renewed Hotel 4 Points by Sheraton Ljubljana Mons. So really, from the bottom of my heart, welcome here for this talk, and I hope that we will all really see you here on a regular basis. And I would also, like said already before, it's really nice to see, especially for me as a hotelier and for all of us who work in hotels, to see that it's slowly the business is coming back. Also the events and all the talks and everything. That slowly, we're not there yet, of course, but we are starting. And it's really nice to see also the hotel to live again, just to say like that. Then, of course, you are all invited also then later after the event to our, let's say, the meeting by the piano, because we also have a very nice piano, which will be, let's say that we're starting to put it as a meeting point. So it's one thing not to miss. So you're all very welcome. And of course, I'm also looking forward to the talk, and let's see what we all have to say. So thank you.
Thank you. So I think we will just start with a discussion. Anja Žibert from company
Free Spirit Human Capital.
Free Spirit Human Capital. She will moderate the round table, and you are very warmly welcomed for your input. So just raise the hand. We will organize that the mic will be there. And now, Anja, welcome to start.
Thank you very much, Brane. Thank you. So, yeah, I will repeat what others already said. So, thank you very much for coming here. I'm very excited about this event because I personally know each and every one of our guests, and I know that they are really like a treasure of information. Like they are really big database of very, very important information that usually are not presented in public. And today you will have a unique opportunity to hear that, that you usually, I don't know, maybe sometimes you hear them, but you don't really want to listen to them. So, yeah, this is a chance that you will see the other side of IT recruitment. First of all, let me introduce myself. Yeah, my name is Anja Žibert. I'm a founder of company Free Spirit Human Capital, where I support companies and also job seekers in recruitment processes, also Slovenian and internationally. Now I will introduce our guests. So Sara Vošine Gašpar, she is IT talent specialist. I got to know Sara when she was sourcer. We will, tell a little bit more about that in a few seconds. Then Žiga Lorger, he is executive search in Adecco, Slovenia. Like IT department, IT executive search. And Željka Modrej, she's head of strategic HR in a company Bankart, Slovenian company. Marko Mlakar, he is managing partner at Franklin Covey and CEO and partner of Amrop Adria. And also Simon Belak, He is a hacker, philosopher, and theater director, but I know him as a very, very important representative of IT community. Probably you don't know that Slovenia has a very, very large IT community online, and he will, give you some information about it. I mean, we will all get to know about this part of Slovenian IT world. Okay, this is a short intro. Now they say time is money, so let's get this party started. Sarah, like I said, I know you now for almost a year, and when we were talking, first time, you really impressed me with your, I would say way of working. So you were like a sorcerer. I say like a sorcerer. You're a magician, with IT profiles, because you were recruiting, and you still are, in Slovenian and also international environment. What would you say, what is the main difference when you are talking with Slovenian IT experts and, for example, German? Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be opening this panel. I actually got my first working experience working for a German startup, so I do have a very unique insight in both the German IT market and also Slovenian IT market. I'm also married to a developer that works for a couple of different German companies, so I also got to see his experience from his side, how he was treated, and how he was looking for a new job, how he was working with recruiters, and just in general how the market looked like. There are quite some differences. If I just focus on the candidates, I think the main difference between Germans and Slovenians is that Slovenians really don't like to move, and that's I think something that Slovenian companies do have going for them. That Slovenians like to stay in their own houses with their yards and have very nice quality of life here, and this is definitely something that has presented a very unique challenge for Slovenian companies now that more and more companies are actually fully remote and are hiring also developers that can work from home and don't really need to drive to Ljubljana anymore and can have a higher quality of living. But the main difference that I do notice, it's not on the part of candidates but on the part of companies. So how the companies do treat IT talent. When I was hiring for Germany, when we for our startup, the CEO, we knew that we will keep the developers that we hire for 2 years maximum. So when we were hiring and when we were doing, the strategy how to, keep them and how to bring our products forward and have happy customers, we took that into account. That they will leave after 2 years. So we couldn't afford to have a 1 year long onboarding process where the candidate got to meet every single detail of our system and went to in-person meetings with basically every client, so they could show off, look, this is our new guy. We really focused on how to get a person that comes to work for us that is hired for their expertise, how to get his or her expertise and bring our team and our product forward in these 2 years that we kind of knew that they would be staying there. Especially for startups, this is true. In early stage startups, there is this involvement. People are starting, build the product, and they do want to see it. For a couple of years more, but just in general, people are changing jobs every 2 years, and the market in Slovenia is really not prepared for that. And also, candidates are not prepared for that. There are candidates that are really like, I need to stay in this job for 5 years because it will look bad on my CV, because they will think I'm a job hopper. And also the companies see that and they are like, oh, this is a job hopper. We will, he will just come and he will just get onboarded in our 3-year process and then he will already leave, And this is really tragic because job hopping is actually one of the fastest ways that developers grow. And they do become better developers if they are not stuck in one part of one big system doing one thing and just that thing in 10-year-old technology.
Thank you very much.
I completely agree with this one, and yeah, what we should emphasize here is like it's really about the mindset. It's really about the mindset of the companies, because like Sarah already said, you know, that when you see somebody that he's changing jobs, that's not a bad thing. Okay, and it's not only with IT profiles; it's with everybody. A generation, you know, today, like we are in digital era. We need to be aware of that. And there are so many companies. Also, I'm not communicating with a lot of companies and with a lot of leaders that they have this assumption in their head, and we have to get rid of that. So today's event is also one chance, maybe one step closer, you know, into that direction. So we get rid of assumptions, because assumptions are mother of all faux and stars. So remember that. Okay, Sarah, thank you. And what would you say that there are most, I would say, yeah, wishes or requests that IT professionals, for example, Slovenian IT professional or like international IT professional have? Like, are they really like asking for rockets and for castle, you know, up there, or I don't know, tropical island holidays and stuff like that? Can you clarify a little bit this assumption?
The assumption that you cannot get developers is also a bad one. You can. It's just, you know, what you offer. And I am aware that not all companies can compete in this global market. And this is on one way tragic. But I've seen companies that offer 20-hour work week for 100K for a senior developer, and they have zero problems getting developers. But obviously, you know, not everyone can afford to compete with this. So I think I'm really sad to say that remote is still not something that companies have adopted. And this is not new. This is like 10 years. You are not unique if you allow your workers to work remotely. That's old news. You are unique if you allow them to work shorter hours. This is something that developers really like. They want more work-life balance. They want less meetings, and usually it's the meetings that get cut off with a shorter work weeks, and they love this. They love that they are able to focus on work more and less on talking. That's definitely something. And then tech, and this goes hand with hand with just like being very open-minded. Tech is changing really a lot, really fast. 10 years in tech, it's really a long time. And if you have, if your software is written in a technology that is, or you have written your software 15 years ago, that's like 30 years in tech. That's really a long time. So this is also something that developers want. They do want to check, test new things. They do want to learn new things. They don't have time to do it, to do production or internet scale production projects in their spare time. They do want to get this experience at work. So yeah, definitely tech, definitely work-life balance. And this remote that is just, just sad that, there are still people that want developers to be in the office 5 times per week. And this is after Corona, where, they weren't in the office during the pandemic, so.
It's really funny in a way because, this remote, it's like a buzzword, Like, for example, digital marketing or like growth hacking, it was a few years ago, and everybody were crazy about it. Now it's like remote working, remote offices. But what is that? It's like you leave or you let somebody, to have a choice where he will do his job. That's remote working. You are not controlling him, you are not micromanaging him or her, but it's a matter of choice. It's a freedom of choice. So we could see it that way. I see it that way. Thank you very much, Sarah. If maybe Simon, Marco, or Željka, would like to add something, you're very welcome. So just wave, and I will give you the microphone. Okay, Žiga. I invited you because I really wanted to talk to you about communication. Because I was working in an HR agency. We were actually co-workers, for a while. And I know that the communication between the I would say, like an agent in between, you know, and then candidate and company, it's broken. It's in a way broken because there are no rules how to lead this process. But for example, yesterday I saw a very, very interesting post that job interview is a conversation between two liars. They are not 100% honest, each of them. They are not. You know, none of them is 100% honest. So where, you know, there is an agent or an agency in between, it's even harder because they don't have the right information, you know. And this is the reason, yeah, that I invited you today, that you will reveal, you know, about this stuff, and you will tell us and everyone how it should be. Where do you see solutions? Because sometimes, you know, when you cannot find or whatever, like there is no match, it's not necessary that there is no match because that person doesn't exist, but it's different reason, yeah? So, yeah, what would you say? What would you suggest to companies when they are using agencies' help, you know, with recruiting? How to lead this process with communication-wise?
First of all, thanks for having me here. Yeah, I definitely agree with you about this part of the communication, and basically the solution is not that much complex that we all would thought. I think that communication, open communication, transparent communication is a building block of a successful recruitment process, both in a way of candidate and of course in a way of companies. So open communication, transparent, and of course communication which is supported by relevant information and real facts about the position and about the needs of the company. We can often see different job ads, which is really complex because it's often that in one position it's...
They don't even know what they're looking for.
Yeah, you know, they are looking developer, system engineer, DevOps, project manager, all in one position. And what is important to clear this, what they are basically looking for. And often management, HR department, they don't have the clear picture of what they are looking for. But persons or department who has this are basically hiring managers or senior developers or basically co-workers of these persons. So when we cooperate with different companies who need our help in finding the right candidates and hiring them, what I or my team always request is to have a conversation with the person who knows the positions from inside out, you know. So when you talk with...
You know how I call this? He or she is a job whisperer.
Yeah, basically.
They need to be job whisperers, because if you don't have somebody who explains that to you, how can you pass the message on?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, when you talk, let's say, with senior developers, when he explaining you what are their jobs responsibilities, what kind of projects they are working on, or which technologies they are using, because you know some of technologies are very similar to others, and it's basically when I, for example, ask them, do you need senior developers or mid developers? The reality is that he doesn't mind. He just needs to know that the person has the right attitude and experience in the similar department. So yeah, when you talk with this kind of person who know the technologies, who know the methodology of work, who know on which project they are currently working and in the future, it's much more easier to attract the right candidates. Because on the other side, what candidates want at the beginning when you contact them, when you try to motivate him or her.
A lot of information, yeah?
Yeah, and a lot...
Simon can tell us more about...
Yeah, not just basic information, you know.
Yeah.
They want to know real information, because they have, honestly, so much offer on their desk that they don't have time to speak with anyone. So This part is really important to have clear picture what you want and to present this to the candidates or the recruiter who is looking for you. So I think this is really important.
Good. Would you be so kind and reveal us a few examples? This is the question that I just, make up. So a few examples that they were like, oh my God, like how they don't know that. But like that they said, Žiga, can you help me find this and this and this? And you found yourself in really, like bad situation because you didn't know what to do. Like,
okay, like I mentioned before, they want, as developers often say, girl for everything, system engineer, developer, quality assurance engineer, all in one person. But as Sarah mentioned before, the technologies develop so fast in this environment that they can't get this kind of person anymore. In the past, yeah, they were engineers, developers, they doing all kinds of stuff, but right now it's no go. And also, like Sarah mentioned before, about technologies that are way out of date and legacy issues. Often when companies decided which technologies they will use for their project, it is very important to consider if they can get the person for these jobs, because a lot of companies work today with outdated technologies, and they hire you to find a person who is able to code in, let's say, Delphi or Pascal, but they
are not aware of importance.
Yeah.
They are really not aware of importance. How important is that, what kind of technology the company is using. Because if they want advanced developer, that he's looking for like personal and career growth, and that we all want these superstars, and you put that kind of person in the environment where they cannot grow.
It's mission impossible.
It's a disaster. It's a recipe for disaster. So, okay, good. Would you suggest something like to all the listeners that also they're online? What would be like the essential thing they have to do, when they start working with the agency?
First of all, I think that the part of good cooperation is that everyone must know what they can expect from each other. So internal companies must cooperate, different departments must cooperate to be aware of what are their needs, and then just share honest with companies what they want, where they got some issues. How can resolve this, and what can offer to candidates to attract them.
Okay, and one last question. Which profiles you think at the moment are the most wanted? And what companies usually offer them? What are these benefits? Like they are offering them trip to the moon, or like I mean, why? How do you see this situation?
When it comes to IT, everything that is related to IT, its demand is really big. But overall, there are basically always a big demand for good developers.
What does it mean, good developers? Like they have a track record, or?
It's tough questions, but the developers who is open-minded, who is superior in technologies, but also have some interest for seeing bigger pictures, because in Slovenia is a lot of companies who combine technical knowledge and business areas. So this is the perfect candidate who has affiliation to finance and can code. So yeah, different kind of developers. Maybe there is a slight bigger demand for web developers because these are the technologies that are evolving really quickly, and it's really scalable. And you know, everything nowadays goes on web. So this is one part, and maybe the second which I noticed in recent years, that companies are more and more aware of the importance and power of data. So they try to invest in that, and they are looking for different data-related experts like business intelligence specialists, data scientists, data engineers. Yeah, also a lot of machine learning and artificial intelligence, but mostly also, you know, engineers that are really looking for are those who are specialized in ETL process, you know, extract, transform, load, and specialists for data warehousing. So all that is related to data, basically.
Okay. I don't want to be disrespectful, Željka, but I will skip a little bit to Simon because I can feel him, you know. It's like, Simon, would you like to add something to this? Because, you know, there are like different perspectives. That's why we are talking about it today.
Yeah, just a few notes. I'll start with the point where there's kind of an issue of defining what's a good developer. And I think this is kind of the symptomatic of the problem we have, is that a lot of companies kind of, you know, view the hiring problem too much as a silos, and they're like, we'll just offload this to HR, either internal or external, and then there's not enough conversation of what we actually need. And this is already kind of problematic in of itself. But also then there was a question of what the developers actually want. What do you need to know when looking for a job? And we didn't touch a few of what's, for me, very important. It's what I always kind of emphasize to the people I mentor, that they should be thinking about is, who am I going to be working with? What am I actually going to be working on? When am I going to be successful? What does it mean to be successful? Like, who is going to, I don't know, mentor me? Who I'm going to report to? With whom I'm going to work also in a wider sense. This like position where I'm just basically just me, the code, my co-workers, or I'm also interacting with other business stakeholders. Like, those things flesh out the position way better and allow candidates to actually find something that is a good match for them. And often you see if there's like too many people in between that you can't even get answers to those very fundamental questions. Or conversely, also sometimes it's just that the company itself has such organizational disarray that they can't answer this with any kind of certainty. And so oftentimes when I talk to various companies who have trouble hiring people, it turns out that yes, you do have issues hiring them, but you have those issues that are just kind of a symptom of way more fundamental issues that you have in terms of how your IT is organized and how you perceive the IT within your organization. If it's like very much just a cost center, that will then have ramifications to how you set a process around it, how you organize it, and this is something that eventually will also become apparent when people kind of are looking to maybe work for you. And obviously it's not a good place where you want to end up, or just kind of see you as something that we have to have, but nobody actually sees the potential in that. And that just kind of doesn't draw the like very good candidates who have plenty of options.
Yeah, thank you very much. If I may add to this, because I don't know if some of you may know, I'm working with a Belgian startup from data science so area, you know, they are specialized in data science. And I'm dealing with a lot of scientists, like data scientists, and a lot of IT experts. And all they want is to treat them as people, as human. For example, when I was recruiting, when I was communicating with those candidates, like scientists, you know, have in mind that they are scientists, they are special type of people. But when we manage to break the wall between, you know, that we see them as an asset, you know, to our company, or do we see them as a tribe member, like a team member, and we treat them like that, and we communicate, you know, like that. This makes huge difference. And Slovenian companies a lot of them, they don't know how to do that. They really don't know how to communicate with people, with candidates, as people, as human. And they are talking to them like, okay, we give you money, you're gonna come work for us, and you're gonna do whatever we will tell you to do. You know, this is something that I see, and I know, you know, I'm pretty sure that you already have this observation. So, Željka, I invited you also for a special reason, because you're a head of strategic HR in Bankart.
Yes.
And Bankart is a Slovenian company that actually cannot steal candidates from other companies because you're so specific, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
So you have quite a few challenges. I mean, like, you know, if we would say, like, if somebody would assume that you have quite a few challenges with recruiting, with, you know, employee retention, stuff like that, but it's not like that. You know, you are very, very successful with your employee retention, so you give amazing employee experience, and also people would like to work with your company. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Okay, as we heard today, it's more about what we do in the company, how we have organized our processes regarding people and regarding the culture. So if you do it right, and if you find this magic formula for the culture, then you will have a lot of people that will be your ambassadors for the talent acquisition. Today I would like to share with you a few of our best practices, and I think that in modern environment people needs basically 3 motivators or drivers, and you could build the environment around them. So
write this down. Take a pen and write this down.
Okay, those are some ingredients of the recipe. You have to find your own recipe. But first, I would like to talk about give people autonomy. So this is give them freedom to work in the office or remotely. It's really not the question anymore. So people can choose in Bankart where they want to work. The autonomy in Bankart was also the process that was supported for the autonomy is agile way of work. Not just agile processes, but also agile mindset is very important, and that's why Bankart introduced people management process for, let's say, mindset agility. It's also important in terms of what you give people as flexible working hours, and if you have also work offices or office design that support this new way of working, hybrid way of working, have people are staying at home and half are working in the company, and you need to find this balance. So we are now dealing with the office renewal, and I think that these are some ingredients for autonomy. Another thing that is important, and we heard about it today, is give people a place to grow. So mastery is a thing that is very important. In Bankart, we have to develop our people 2 years, so we cannot have the same system because we have a special knowledge. It's a processing of the payment systems, and it's a niche in Slovenia, but
you already have these people in the company.
Yeah,
so
we have. We usually employ young people and then develop them. We have onboarding process with mentorship, so every employee have a mentor, and also every employee undergo internal trainings. In that way, they get to know all the departments, people, and they can sense the culture. And after 6 months, we see maybe we fit or maybe we don't.
And that's absolutely fine.
And that's okay. Yeah. So it's not always sunshine and flowers. Agile way of work is it gives you freedom, but also a sense of responsibility, and I think it's not for everyone. And the mastery part, I also should mention people manager role in the company. It's our agile HR practice. So these are our employees from different departments that like to develop other people. So you have like a partner in development.
One more question. So you ask them, like, do you want to help develop our people?
Yeah.
And in some companies, you know, there's like, no, you're gonna be people. You know, you're gonna be people manager.
No. We ask them, of course, and of course they then undergo some trainings and so on. So they are equipped with the coaching knowledge, and we support coaching culture. So. Basically, you have two people to turn to in terms of your development, is your functional leader and people manager. So this is a part about mastery. And the thing that I think is also important is purpose, sense of purpose and recognition. So purpose, I mean that we all want to contribute to something bigger than us, and that is important how company is communicating, who is communicating, what are the channels, and that's why in the bunker we establish a lot of communication channels. MS Teams, we have Friday Bunker Dialogue, where management board is every month talking to all employees, and they can ask questions and so on. And we have channels for engagement. It was very good in times of Corona, because we have face yoga and beer and everything. It was fun, and I think that people need it. So. Another thing that I think is very important is all people want feedback. So we are building this culture of constant feedback in the way that we implemented the app called Recognized, and every employee can put the feedback on that app for every employee. So we implemented this app at beginning of the year, and now today I think we have more than 700 feedback, so we are going in the right direction with giving feedback and recognition. And the third thing I think is very important is reward system. So agile reward system, no size fits all. You need to really tailor to the needs of the employees. So these are some of the ingredients. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So you see, it's possible. We should just touch a little bit the buzzword employer brand. Because we both agree that employer brand we cannot build from scratch. Okay, employer brand. This is actually all the opinions that our employees have about our companies. And what would you say, like? What would you suggest to companies that they are so trying to, build their employer brand based on,
I think that for employer brand or any other related topic to the employees, you should include as many people as possible in creation of the process, because they will then be your ambassadors and will share these best practices. For example, one thing that we did in employer branding was organize a workshop on LinkedIn and invite our employees. They assist in this workshop, and now we have, I think, a really increased number of the posts on the LinkedIn, and the company in 1 year has more than 1,500 followers for the company page. So I think this is one practice that was good.
For employer brand, so people like outside world can see who Bunker really is, and all the people as well. Yeah. Because sometimes, I mean, what I can see, for example, that people are hiding. People, they don't want to show who they are, like representatives, companies representatives. And how can you expect that somebody will trust a company or CEO or whatever that he's hiding behind I don't know what. But it's all about trust. It's all about communication. Maybe for now, thank you very much, Željka. And okay, we were talking about recruitment. We were talking about, for example, agile HR and sourcing, communication. But we also have to say something about the development. Yeah, Marko, and you're an expert on this area.
Thank you, Anja. Warm welcome also from my side. Good to see Ms. Rantzen, Brane, the organizers, and all of you live, no longer only Zoom or hybrid meetings. And I was listening to Sarah and Žiga and Simon in terms of the art of attracting, finding, which I think is really an art, and it's one part. And talent acquisition, I think if we look at a little bit further away, it's a bit more, I think, specific. Why I'm telling this. In early 90s, when Slovenia declared independence, most of our giant companies like Iskra, Litostroj, the ones which were employing a large number of technical people, they lost the markets and they basically went bankrupt. So at that time, everybody started to study, the parents said, look, go study economy or law, you'll find a job. And the technical faculties were striving for many years to get people, because everybody studied social sciences. And then, slowly this trend, I think, have turned. Then we had the millennial bug, when, they realized IT is the fundament. And then, I was spending many years, like Žiga and Sarah did, in the region. And in 2016, there was, crypto, gaming, all the companies were striving to get people, because, gaming and crypto were able to pay IT experts unlimited sums. And I think now, we have entered the corona. I don't think any economy was ready to make such a significant shift that from coming to the office in a relatively short period of time, everything is now mobile. You need people to be skilled to work at home, and also IT to support all these processes. And also Slovenian companies are slowly realizing that the domestic talent, which was schooled and developed from zero in Slovenia, is no longer the target only of Slovenian executive search industry. I was just recently, listening very carefully to Ms. Rantzen, because I did a project for a German company in 2010, when they established a company in Serbia. And what they did, and this was in 2010, one wall was like, that the Serbian people could see the company in Germany, and the Germans could see simultaneously the office in Serbia. So basically, it was a mobile at that time, just one wall, and they said, look, we don't differentiate if you work in Germany or if you work in Serbia, you are our employee. So for them was, one people, one company. And, what we are seeing now is that I was 3-4 weeks ago in Austria. They have a large startup and scale-up incubator there. Maybe some of you know it's Speed Invest, with 65 companies. And, they are already recruiting Slovenians, when they reach the last stage of high school. And with the offer, so they said, look, with the technology, why would somebody think they need to drive, I don't know, to Ljubljana, Maribor, Vienna? They can work. We are very flexible. And now we are coming, to the part-time involved now a little bit more. Many of you probably know the company Franklin Covey. Franklin Covey, it's a famous for the book 7 Habits. It's a company which is in existence for 40 years, 150 locations. 90% of people of global Fortune 500 companies are working with them. And we realize, in Slovenia, that the companies are coming to us and said, look, one thing is to get the people, but if we want to get the managers out of them, we cannot recruit all the time, because our organizations and the structures are getting out of balance, because we are, IT experts, IT managers are coming in 2-3 years, you meet 70% of the new people, and the organization as it was some years ago, it's now completely different. So we want to do something to have a more stable environment. And I think, people development is something which in Slovenia will need to realize that if you want to do something, you need to show people also a career path, not constantly moving, but developing them internally.
And clear career path. This is also an issue sometimes.
Yeah. There is, I think, also one thing, the number game. In our demographics, are saying that in 1970s we had 2.1 people, a child born by family. I think now we are on 1.1. And if you see the conversion between, people entering, let's say, the working life, getting into retirement, and the new ones coming, you cannot cope on that numbers. So I think, people development and also maybe relying a bit also on Slovenian diaspora, which is very small, but when companies IT are going international, usually diaspora is your first contact. So if I did quite some things in Croatia. In Croatia, they have 4 million people living outside of Croatia. So when they start looking for people, they say, look, we only have 4.5 million here, but we have 4 million around. When you look at the Irish people, they have a huge population in Canada, India, Australia. So I think companies are now trying all possible sources that are associated with your origin, like Slovenia, and see where you can do it, And as you mentioned before, the German companies, they were very active, but already 10 years ago. So for them, having talent which is outside of Germany, it's part of the company DNA already, not for 2-3 years, but already for quite some time.
Thank you very much, Marco. I would also add something to this, and because I have quite a few experiences with talking with people who are self-taught, like they are self-educating themselves to become a developer or some other, IT profile, and they are amazing potential. But companies, they are only looking at their CVs. It's like, okay, you've been working 5 years in sales, there's no way you could be an IT professional. This is another assumption. And maybe Simon, can you add something to my observation? Do you agree with me?
Yeah, absolutely. I've hired quite a few developers. I've never looked at any kind of formal education. I also, there's like in the US, where I've spent a little bit of time working, nobody really cares. I mean, maybe yes, if you are from one of the few brand name institutions, but that's basically Stanford, MIT, maybe Oxford, Cambridge, the rest just doesn't matter at all. Like University of Ljubljana or nothing. Probably saying you're a dropout sounds better, to be honest, than having a degree at University of Ljubljana or anything similar. It's not just I'm picking on them, but in general, just like it doesn't matter at all. Having said that, there is also like lately this kind of an explosion of various boot camps where, on the other hand, these do have a bit of a bad name, and I think that is in some aspects legit, because they are kind of this reaction to the forces on the market, but they are way too focused on just kind of checking all the check boxes that companies need, and then you get people who, on paper, they know all the things they should know, but it's so superficial that they're not actually good at applying them, and then you have this kind of weird situation where on paper a candidate seems quite strong, but then actually they are still very junior. So this is again something to keep in mind. I still think the kind of the best and the healthiest combination is kind of the amount of different projects those people worked on. Also, like, I have a huge issue, even though I know it's kind of completely dominates the industry, it's kind of the notion of seniority. Like we used it some in the discussion before, like kind of junior meets seniors, and this is a completely useless term as far as I'm concerned, because what I consider senior might be quite different from what someone else considers senior. And also, it doesn't depend just on my personal preferences, but also what are we actually doing and what kind of problems are we solving,
and how much are you willing to pay for it? Yeah.
That as well. But even if we forget that, it's just kind of seniority will mean, like, even if for the same company at different stages of that company, the question of seniority will mean different things. For instance, like when you're at the beginning, when you're looking for someone senior, what essentially you need, or you need, is someone who can do quite a bit of things, who is comfortable with chaos, and who can slowly turn this chaos into processes and systematize it. While in an established company, when you're looking for someone who you deem senior, it's more going to be about narrow domain experience and maybe was kind of already working in this niche or something very similar. And that can be like the same company like 5 years apart, and this term kind of changes. So I find like what I use instead of this kind of notion of seniority is like I ask myself, what is the biggest or the most complex task I would give to that person? And then this kind of benchmark to what we're actually doing, and that gives you a way better way of kind of also, you know, especially with IT recruiting, oftentimes we have a process where there are kind of a lot of people involved in the interviews. You'll have maybe like 2 or 3 technical interviews, and then there's just like a huge issue of how we even discuss those results. Like you have 3 of your developers do the interviews with a candidate, and then at some point they need to discuss what they've seen and how do they feel about that candidate. And you know, the moment you have such nebulous terms as senior, and if you don't really kind of reflect what it means to be senior for me, you won't get as good feedback from those people as you could if you kind of actually try to decompose what it means to be senior in that case.
Or I see an issue, for example, when somebody is invited for an interview, you know, and the representative in the company is not competent to talk to IT professional. I mean, this is really recipe for disaster. Another one. So.
Yeah, that's kind of. I mean, this is something that generally, especially big companies tend to have, is like the HR is the filter, and then they just go and check the keywords, and that's a horrible way, because first of all, what happens is everyone is now padding their CVs and inflating them, because we know that they're like people are going to be looking at those CVs who don't know what they're actually looking at, and then they're just going to look for keywords. But that just makes the CV that much less useful, and also that kind of sets you up for failure, because then, you know, you put on the CV, oh, I have this experience in, I don't know, like some technology, and then, I don't know, maybe I see that technology and some of my back technologies.
Check.
Oh, no, it's like, oh, I want to talk to you about this technology, and they can just put it on because to look stronger, and then you just fail your interview because, you know, it turns out that it was complete bullshit. And then I'm thinking, oh, what else you weren't sincere about? So it's kind of overall unhealthy direction to go into.
Yeah.
Wait, I lost.
You lost the mic. No problem. Yeah, one more thing, because you are representative of, I'm gonna ask you, yeah, one more thing, but you're, you know, very important representative of the Slovenian IT community, which is, I know that Slovenian developers on the internet is like 11,000 developers or something like that, or more than 10,000. 12,000, even more. Like, did you know there is a Facebook group that has almost like 12,000 or more than 12,000 developers inside, and yeah, so that's why we are competent to give you this information at this point. And what would you say? Where is the main challenge? Okay, we've been already, you know, talking about it, but what would you say as a representative of IT community, and based on all the information that you get from candidates, from IT professionals, what would you say it's the main challenge, or maybe 4 points? 4 points. So 4 main challenges that you see, you know, in IT recruitment in Slovenia.
Okay, we're all stumping. First, I think the first and fundamental question is oftentimes just a problem of communication. That we already touched this, and also like, I don't know, even some things that cropped up in this discussion that I very much disagree, for instance, and I'm sorry for picking on you, but I'm going to pick this kind of notion of employer branding, I think you called it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like, from the other side, nobody really cares. To be honest, like the only companies that have a strong brand as IT employers are those who have technical excellency. That, and then ideally you do something at least moderately interesting. Nothing else matters. Nobody cares about anything else. And there's in Slovenia there may be maybe 5 companies that actually have a meaningful brand in that sense.
Yeah, I agree. Because it's a buzzword that everybody are using too much.
Otherwise, I think it's just kind of misplaced effort, or you then kind of you're just kind of attacking the symptoms rather than root causes. But this is like also like why I've used this example, not just kind of to pick on you, but
no, but they have a good one, you know, because people are staying with the company.
Fair, but overall, like the issue is like this kind of communication that like companies don't know what it is kind of to, like, you know, how to even show that some things that they're doing are very interesting. But this is like an age-old problem in communication, like the curse of knowledge. The more you're expert in something, the more you have actually trouble conveying it and showing why it is interesting, because so many things are kind of clear to you and self-evident, and then the important things aren't communicated. Because I think one of the very important things that we haven't even touched in this panel is what am I actually going to be working on? There's a huge difference. And generally, like, let's say product companies do have quite a significant edge over companies that are either positions agencies or where IT is just something that supports some other activity. Like those two jobs are both known that they are not going to develop me, like they won't give me the opportunity to develop as much as the product companies will, even if the processes are the same. It's just the nature of work is different, and it's kind of the organization and what the value, how the value is seen in IT is different, and that kind of has a ripple effect on everything else. But even if you're like working on a cool product, if you can't kind of communicate what it is that's kind of interesting, it's that much harder to do. Second, I very much agree with this point about talent development, and this is something we just aren't seeing enough, especially in Slovenia. Here we're really lagging behind. There's kind of this notion of how, like, you know, everyone says like, in every ad you'll have OES, and then plenty of opportunities for personal growth or some crap like that. But like when you actually ask about them, like they won't have concrete answers. And this is like an easy way how to differentiate yourself, even in the ad. It's just like if you can, like in a sentence or two, explain what actually does it mean that you're going to invest in me, that you already buried 90% of the competition because nobody will get a thought about it. And it can be something as simple as you will have a fixed mentor with which you'll have, like, I don't know, once every 2 weeks you'll have a 1 hour session. Even that is way, way, way above the bar which it currently is. And there's like a huge potential, and it doesn't even cost that much, well, some time, but that's kind of about the extent of it, and you have to kind of think about it. But again, this also ties, if you just see IT as something you have to have, or a cost center, obviously you won't invest in those kind of activities, but then that will like come and haunt you eventually. And I remember like this kind of about the notion about seniority, and this kind of ties to like my next point, which was lovely already kind of emphasized at the beginning of this talk. Yes, very likely your ideal candidates will hop around. Like it's very rare that you basically, and also like when I'm talking to various people I mentor, like this is also my advice. Like the job you're looking at now, consider this is going to be your job for the next 18 months to 2 years. That's kind of the sweet spot usually. There is an exception to that if it's a startup that's growing very, very rapidly and you're growing with it, but that is quite uncommon because it has like exactly the perfect timing, and that they don't then hire above you, but they kind of just will allow you to rise through the ranks. In any other case, you are going, like as a developer, or I think as any kind of employee, you're going to advance faster and better if you hop jobs. And so now as a company you have two choices. Either you're kind of completely blind to this and still assume that you're doing a huge favor to whoever you're hiring, which is kind of the default state that again 80% of the companies locally and even like further apart, or you take this kind of into account and they said, okay, yes, those people are going to maybe switch jobs, but still, if we left a good impression, those people will then actually be ambassadors for us.
Yeah.
And that is something very important. Also, I don't know, one common situation is like people have, like, you know, companies hiring for junior positions. They're like, yes, we need kind of these juniors. And the problem is that some of them hire for junior positions because they need people at those positions indefinitely. But that's a horrible, horrible value proposition for someone who is actually in those shoes, because yeah, you're going to do something that's not very fun and doesn't really have much potential, and just we want you to stay at that position for the next 10 years. Like nobody is going to say yes to that. So instead, you could also brand yourself as, we are an excellent stepping stone. We have a track record that, you know, in the last 2 years, five people went through us and then landed jobs at, I don't know, other, like, with good brand recognition companies. And that, because that is a much more, approach that's much more aligned with what also the people, like the candidates want, and gives you just kind of, essentially, you know, when at that point, then you get the reputation that you were a good stepping stone, and then even, like, let's say, more experienced people will then guide the juniors there because, oh, this is kind of a good place to start. And it's, again, just how you position yourself and that you're sincere with what's happening. Because yes, I know it's nicer if you have people longer and it is cheaper and so forth because you're not losing money on onboarding. But then if you actually look at your retention number, it turns out that a lot of companies already are in this position. They're just in denial with themselves that this is actually happening. And instead of kind of taking advantage of this and building processes around it that take this into account, either they just kind of fight against the flow, and then you are in a situation where you just have like people who essentially burn out and then switch jobs, and like those people will not be your investors. They will say that it's like what the shit, and you know, encourage everyone to not go work there. And there
that happens a lot in Slovenia. That happens a lot. You have to be aware of that. Slovenia is a very, very small country. A lot of people know each other. A lot of information are going around the market about companies that companies don't want to hear about. But they need to be aware. People and companies who think that they're good companies in eyes of, I would say, best IT talents, they are not good companies. Okay, so this is opportunity to really emphasize that, because nobody is telling that. It's really crazy, because when I'm talking to candidates, they tell me all this information, and when I'm talking to companies, they are telling me, you know, their perspective, and there is no way, you know, that they will meet each other because they are completely on different planets. So we are here to to take the rocket and, you know, to travel to the other side. But yeah, thank you very much, Simon. We'll get back to you. I have one question for you, Marko. Yeah, you were mentioning development. Yeah, development. So profiles. I would ask you, what would you suggest? What are these first steps that companies can do? They don't probably have to invest like millions of euros or whatever, you know, but what they can do in their mindset to start developing their own profiles, their own, you know, people.
Okay. Just one comment to Simon's interesting observation, you know, because what Simon said, you know, that in the IT world, the formal education is overrated. And basically, you know, the projects you work on are the ones which qualifies you for the next level. And I think the business schools and other schools are now having an issue, you know, because if you say, I don't know, I'm alumni of Harvard, it doesn't matter anymore because you can get online education anywhere in the world, which is better for your personal development. And I think when you look the business schools in the world, they are all now looking the new modus operandi in the world, because now, you know, people are enrolling in programs all over. What we see, you know, is that developers, you get them, you realize them, some are very good, but they lack soft skills. And, you know, you don't want to get someone to manage a team if they don't want to. It's very often they are more kind of motivated by the difficulties of the projects, new technologies. They have certain mindset, you know, it's like, give me a problem, I'll find a solution. But sooner or later, somebody also needs to lead a team of them. So I think first thing is, you know, to recognize the ones who show some sort of the positives towards being developed into a people manager. Because if you take someone who is not showing any interest to be leading people, you will lose an expert, and you know, basically, you know, make a whole bunch of problems within the company. So what we are doing, you know, we are starting to do some assessments to see which people are showing signals, and then the management is speaking with them to verify, you know, you have a talent, we think you could be a team leader, would that fit your, you know, also personal agenda? And I think that's the way to go. This can also go then with line that internal promotion, and that people stay then longer, not only 18 to 24 months, you know, but you give them something. But if you would do the opposite, so look, you know, like you will be the leader, and people don't want to do, you lose them even earlier than 18 months. I'm afraid so.
Thank you. Great.
If I can just short points. First point for developers, their perspective is usually you either earn or you learn. That's it, and that just sums up everything that you said. And this also then it brings me to a very hard thing that I think it's going to be hard to hear. But there are only 27 million developers on the planet from 8 billion people. That's like 0.3 something %. So everyone involved around developers, we are all much more replaceable than developers are. And this is really something that we are not taking into account, that we don't have people that can write code. And our lives, our planet, our economies, our everything relies on what these people will do in the next 10 to 15 years. And we are the ones that have to be, be good to them and buying them, and not vice versa. And there are still a lot of companies that have this attitude, I'm doing you a favor because you are here now in this first interview, or because you have a job, where in reality it's actually not like that. And I think this is also something that I hear as kind of saying, coming from this very millennial point of view, workers versus capital, yeah, I don't care, it's just about me, my personal development, I'll change job every 2 years. But it's really about, my point also why I actually opened the panel like that, it's not to say that people have to change jobs every 2 years, but there is this notion that expert part, so that if you are a senior developer, to become more senior means that you go into management, which is very bad. It goes in line with what you just said. Why not? If you're a senior developer, you become an expert. And not just you become an even better developer. And these are all the things that we are forcing a lot of technical people to go into non-technical roles, to have non-technical duties that they don't like. And we want, companies want unicorns with, let's say, blue tails, and then we as a recruiter, they want to pay them donkey salaries, right? Then we as recruiters come, we're like, look, this is a horse. He has a white tail, but you can color the tail blue. He's also willing to wear, the horn, maybe, if so this is really the problem. And when I sometimes then bring to the company an actual unicorn with wings, they want to, actually cut down the wings and be like, yeah, you will do something that basically any capable office manager or PM is able to do. And this is really the problem, because this Mädchen for alles, Negro for everything, it works to a certain extent, but there is a point where you have to understand that technical knowledge is just, a person that has a lot of technical knowledge is lost to you if they do other things.
Thank you very much. I think that we have a few more minutes. We're going to slowly wrap this up, but then, of course, it will be an opportunity for questions. What I would also like to add, Žilka, for example, in Bankart, when we were talking before, you mentioned that people are leaving, because they want to check the other side or something, but you actually, accepted people that they were one time in your company, that they left, and that they wanted to come back. And, everything is still okay. That's not a disaster. So, can you say something about that, maybe?
Yeah, people sometimes leave because they want higher salaries. Bankart has, let's say, medium salaries in the IT market, but we have other things that are important for the people, and people leave. And usually they leave for the higher paying position, but that comes with a not good work-life balance, as we talked before, and they want to return, and it's okay for us. So we took some people back. Yeah.
And that's really something that companies are not doing, because they are assuming, they let us down one time, they probably will let us down the other time as well. So we have to get rid of these obstacles in our mind. Well, thank you very much, my panelists. It was very, very good. Thank you for your energy and for all information. Do you maybe have something to add, or you will wait? You are eagerly waiting for questions, probably. Okay. Let me mention just maybe, like, from my point of view, just 4 points. I will try to limit on 4, because we are in 4-point Sheraton Mons hotel. So first of all, we need to have purpose. okay? When we are communicating with people and we want them to join our company, we need to give them reason why. So this is what I see the first one. The second one is to treat them as people, as human being. You don't have to treat them as like your best friend, you know, when you don't know the person, but you don't have to treat them as an inventory, you know, without feelings. Yeah, I think it's time for empathy, you know, to come to take the place in recruitment, in business world. So that's the second one, and you will break the walls. You will break the walls between candidates and between the companies. And yeah, this is recipe for success. Okay, the third one, communication, of course. This is very, very, very important. Clear communication, because I've seen a lot of examples and a lot of situations when they were on completely different planets, because one was, you know, saying something and the other one was saying something else, and it's like, I don't know because of what reason, but they didn't want to listen to each other. So just ask. If you don't know the answer, just ask person, hey, what it would take, you know, for you to join our company? It's not like we are giving this and this and this and this and this. I don't care about maybe fourth stuff that we are giving you. So it's about communication. And the fourth one, I would say, it's the environment itself. Marco, can you add maybe the fourth one?
No, I don't want to add that this was your one, but I just wanted to maybe one thinking, you know, which goes in line with that, and maybe also a question for you. What I'm seeing lately, let's say this year and a half, demonstrated that, you know, the more we are working remotely, the companies started notifying that, okay, last year in March when the pandemic started, everybody was very much engaged with the work from home, they were constantly reachable, and everything was, you know, functioning pretty well. But the longer these things happened, the companies are now realizing, you know, that the company culture is diminishing. In the past, you know, you came to the office, you know, you met the secretary, a few words, then you went to a coffee with somebody, and these things, small things, were creating a bond between people. Later with some you did some sports or went to a concert or blah, 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 then you had some team buildings.
It's different now, yeah.
Yeah, and now, you know, it's a question mark. We are getting more and more remotely. And how will the companies, you know, is this corporate culture still an advantage and you're kind of something special, or you're just one among them? So for me, is more a question for you, because you see it daily when you are interacting with your team members, your superiors, and people you manage, that this is somehow, you know, diminishing with the new world which we are entering.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And you maybe?
Yes, reply that. I would say that company culture was never as big draw to developers as most people think, because like what we're forgetting is like we kind of grew up on various like digital media. Even if you're a bit older, it was like IRC or forums or something. Like written communication is fine. You can have like all the for the geeky people, all the company culture you need can just as well be developed over Slack or something similar like that. Like this, like I don't know. I've never talked to a secretary or something like that. Like I'm pretty introverted. Like I've never done stuff like that. I always see things like that as an interruption, and now there's none of that. While on the other hand, you can actually kind of interact in ways that are already kind of something that's close to you. So it's like you interact now in exactly the same ways as you also interact with open source projects and stuff like that, or like with people on Twitter. So I think that actually just specifically for the IT people, if anything, right now we're going to see like a renaissance in terms of company culture, because finally the medium is aligned with what the preferences for these people already are.
Perfect, thank you. We have a question.
Can you hear me? Yes. I'm Sabrina Lichihajc. I'm IT specialist, let's say, so I'm really in general, I was on IT management and working with a lot of IT developers, IT project managers, CEOs, everybody. Currently, I founded the company who basically helps companies overcome these obstacles. And to answer maybe a question and to align with Simon, mostly what you said is 100% true. IT developers, they don't care about culture. They're pretty much a special kind of people. This is first thing. The second thing is the nature of the work. It's really, I'm looking for this, to this slide, IT industry, global environment. So we are talking mostly about IT developers. We have a lot of other jobs in IT which are further than development. And not to disagree with you or how to say it, but for me, developers can be found. You can hire them remotely. They can work on 2-year project, no problem. But mostly companies want somebody who is in communication between IT developers and doing it good, and management or IT project management or system engineers and so on. And this is why confusion comes. IT is really large segment of people and technology. So it's really some specific point that I wanted to make is companies are aware of this, but are really in difficult. They don't know how to cope with this. So we need to help point them out the way how to do it.
To empower them.
And to empower them, and also the cost center. Companies are changing. It's really a dynamic world. Today, maybe they are cost-oriented. Tomorrow, they will be innovated. So the 2-year frequency is basically logical, but on the underlying technology must be aligned with this. Because you cannot do a 2-year project if you don't have technology. And further, companies are different. Startups are different. Working newly on technology, they can choose the technology. Then we have companies which are 10, 20, 30 years on the market. They do their branding and everything. So it's really huge segment to discuss, and not only developers.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you very much. Thank you. Dragan?
I have a question to share view with all of you panelists. One of the what you mentioned is the word communication. I wonder what Slovenia as a business environment should communicate, or what should be the new narrative to attract foreign talents into Slovenia. Maybe start with your side.
I think like in broad strokes, like most of like branding and positioning in Slovenia is relatively sensible in the sense that we have beautiful nature, good work-life balance, you don't have long commutes, and like quality of life is important. But like alongside of that, like as was kind of mentioned, I think Sarah said, like you either earn or learn. Like, but then also what we do need to emphasize more is that we do have companies with actually solving interesting problems and doing that well. And unfortunately, this is not entirely the case, because if we look at like a lot of our success stories move out, or at least like they move their headquarters, and then they try very hard to not be seen as a Slovenian company, but they're seen as a London-based company or whatever, like San Francisco or something like that. There's also kind of a deeper structural issue, like why those companies themselves, who should be the first ambassadors and their best ambassadors, yes, why aren't they doing that? Like, clearly, we do have issues in the overall business environment that this is not the case. And as long as, you know, like looking from the outside, you see, oh, like maybe the few companies I know, or maybe like the few select developers I know are from there, and they're all working abroad or move their companies abroad. This is going to be very hard to reconcile with like the people I actually look up to. Those moved away, but somehow I should move back here. So this is something that we need to solve. Otherwise, yeah, it's a great place. It should be like a great place also for digital nomads and so forth. But very clearly, we do have issues in the ecosystem, and until we solve, like, no branding is going to kind of plaster over those systematic issues we have.
Brane, your provocative questions always. I don't look at this, only from the IT part of view. I think, a Slovenian who had an international career, who maybe was studying abroad, who settled himself or herself in Vienna, London, Paris, to come back professionally would be a step back in their career. I don't think Slovenian companies can offer the challenge. The bigger ones can. I often see, candidates, and they said, look, I'm living in London, I would like to come back. And then we look at the opportunities, and when they see the balance sheets of Slovenian companies, they said, look, this is very small, I'm managing now 10 times bigger things, so I'm really not motivating, and it's not money. So I don't think we can get top talents to Slovenia. But what I think we can do is, that the younger people, which they want to go, that you help them go internationally. I've seen, case in Kozilab, when they were opening the US office, they, found a person who was working with them as a student. He was working then 1 year. They said, look, you would be perfect fit to go to the US, to run our office. You don't have the family. So he went there and he was there for 5 years and now returned back. And I think that's more logical career path I would see. But to get the superstars coming to Slovenia, it's maybe 5 companies which are capable of giving them a challenge, not only the money. The money you can find, but the problem is, do we have adequate challenge?
Except if they fall in love and they get married.
That's not a business reason.
Do we need a business reason to come to Slovenia? So, no, it's. I think that what I agree with the colleagues. So what we need to do is develop young potentials and give them freedom to move and then come back if this is it, and to be transparent as you could be in terms of communicating what you do. And I think that company culture is important. So in terms of ambassadors, because I think that people that are working there in our company that have a lot of technical knowledge can be a good ambassadors for also for foreign employees. So this is my.
Maybe I can add here something, because about the culture, like I said before, I'm working with a Belgian startup. They have one of a kind machine learning platform, and it's basically I'm talking with scientists, with data scientists, and they were offered, I don't know, really like large offers, and like companies, they really want them to work for them, but no, they are working for us. Like when I was talking to them and I told them, look, we are different, like this and this and this, and me and the founder, we were on a meeting with them, and we were talking with them as human, not like you are an expert, we need you, that we are more successful. No, we are like, we need you to, for you to contribute the knowledge and the energy and the time and everything what you can offer to us and to our team, and we can empower each other. So this is kind of the approach. This is the culture. This is this is something that people can see us, how we are dealing stuff. If we are not like walking the talk, if we are saying, oh, we have this and this and this, we are so different, we are I don't know what, and we are not, this is bad culture. And this is also like, very negative brand. But yeah, this was just an intermezzo. So maybe Žiga, can you please answer also the question?
I think that my colleagues describes the situation very well. Maybe it's better to than thinking how to attract foreign experts to come to Slovenia, to invest in Slovenian teenagers, and to try to motivate them to go in this way, and to develop our own people.
I see that we have a lot of IT companies in Slovenia, but a lot of them, their value added is that they have a software in Slovenian, and that's basically it. That is accustomed for Slovenian market. So as soon as my generation comes more into play, I don't care if the software is in Slovenian or if it's in English. And I think this is going to be another huge loss for a lot of Slovenian IT companies, because this is their value added, that people in companies use the software already for 15 years. They don't want to change. They don't want to learn another language. It's hard. User interface is hard, blah, blah, blah. And this is really something that is actually keeping us back. And I think that when we do have a lot of companies, they have great ideas, they have great challenges, they have great products, and they enter the global market with a feeling of, we are going to be cheaper. And that's going to be our value added. We are just going to be cheaper, and this is how we are going to differentiate our product from other products. And this is really a bad mentality that we have, because we have brilliant minds, brilliant companies doing really great stuff, but we just are missing this confidence of just being, and also with regards to with Germany, I think this is really important. I've spoken with a lot of people that work for Germans, and it's like, okay, but if I am going to outsource something to Slovenia, it does have to be cheaper. I'm not going to pay you as much as I would a German company, because then might as well I would hire a German company. And this is the kind of mentality that we kind of have to come across. It's like, but you are hiring a Slovenian company because we are better than the German company that you didn't hire, and not because just we are cheaper. But I think this also goes a little bit hand in hand with the whole country, right? So what the vision for Slovenia as a country has to be, and I think tapping into this digital nomad market is something that we are really lagging behind. Croatia is here already a step before us, so let's do this. Let's allow people to come here, to work here for 3 months, to just not complicate with bureaucracy, with taxes. Allow invite digital nomads, and digital nomads will stay. These are people that come here and they're so shocked, and they're like, oh my God, I want to stay here. I want to move my business here. I want to work remotely from this place, and then I will need a coworker, and maybe I will meet someone at a meetup, and I will employ them, and another company is born. So this is really something that we could really have going for us if we just kind of move a little bit faster and not wait till everyone is going to do it, and then 7 years later it's going to be battle tested enough for Slovenia to be like, okay, let's do it as well.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, sometimes we have a feeling that we just need, companies, they would like to have somebody who would take their hand and just, lead them all the way, but it's not like that. We have to take the leap. And Slovenia Times Brane, you will do that, yeah? With all the messages that we provided today, I think that's a good material for an article, to send outside of Slovenia. So, thank you very much. One more time. Are there any more questions? Or are you hungry, thirsty? Oh, there's another question. 1 second. Here you go.
I just have to ask a question. Chris Worley, Radio Slovenia International. I've been in the technical industries for far too long. I'm probably the oldest person in the room. And in broadcasting, we had changes. We went from analog to digital, and that was a major, major deal. And what happened at the beginning, we lose the best artists to technology people who knew nothing about the art of making films or television. Is some of that existing here? Is it a case of, Slovenia wants everybody to be educated with the right piece of paper? You guys have already said that's not a great idea. You quite like the idea that people develop their own skills, and artists generally develop their own skills. It's how it happens, isn't it? I mean, look at, in the region, not necessarily Slovenia, but Stefanowski. He never had a guitar lesson in his life, but Eric Clapton says he's the best guitarist in the world. So here you've got a problem. How do you persuade Slovenia, the authority? I mean, I've tried to work with Spirit Slovenia on a number of issues about advertising what Slovenia is able to do outside. How do you persuade Slovenia to work on this, both in the field of education and in the field of promoting itself?
Who dares to answer? Who dares to answer?
Thank you, Chris. Okay.
You gave it to me because I'm probably the oldest at the panel. No, but I think, what you have said is, to me, always a question for the state leadership. And let me clarify this. In 1996, when we signed an association agreement with the EU, if we would be going to Chopova Street and we would randomly pick up 10 people, and then we'll just ask them, you know, what are just three priorities of your country? And I'm sure 9 out of 10 will say EU membership, NATO membership, and the third will be something related with the economic prosperity. I think now if we go and we randomly do the same test, we will give a distribution of 10 different answers. Because at that time, you know, I think from the top down, this was our primary foreign policy goals, and everybody, you know, was communicating that, and I think business and the society was following it. I think we are now in a crossroads, you know, what to do. In Slovenia, also educational system, very often the companies are complaining to the Ministry of Education that the graduates coming are not appropriate for the industry we have today. When you look at the curriculum at the universities, what they are lecturing, you know, and the economy, law, or some other, you know, this is, you know, nobody is listening to this anymore. And if I think you even go down to high school. So I think you need to get a broader consensus within the society, certain things to start coming, and I think, you know, it's usually coming, the innovative part is coming from the companies. I agree with you that nowadays technology companies, the businesses are more technologically driven than they are with the other talents, and we are all basically learning technology. We are not learning other skills, but I think we are entering very philosophical debate now, which I would rather avoid at time being.
Thank you. Are there any more questions? There's another one.
Hi, I will be short. I have just one question. How do you really define company culture?
Yes, it's a great question. So the company culture is something that we see and we don't see. So basically the roots of the company cultures are our internal stability. This is our relations, our values, our purpose, and this is what gives us stability. But this is just one part of company culture. Culture is everything. So it's how the processes are made, how we have a work design, organizational structure, how we implement the strategy. It's a really complex thing, and I think in today's world's company cultures is usually associated just with how people feel. It's not just that, it's how you do the work. And it's a really complex topics with a lot of subtopics that you need to identify and then put it on the management board meetings as many times as possible. So it is like, for me, it's most crucial thing, because you have, usually what is discussed, it's sales figures, it's the thing that we do around the business, but there are no talks about how to tackle the company culture. And
the well-being and...
of course, this is all the, it's really the complex thing, so I hope I explained.
Okay, any other question? Okay, there's another.
Hello, my name is Alexander Sladovic, and I'm coming from the National Institute of the Republic of Slovenia for Vocational Education and Training. I have actually two questions. Did any of you, during your career, work in the public sector? And the second one is, do you think that it's possible to attract competitive IT experts in the public sector because of all the limitations, especially regarding the flexibility of the working time and especially the salary part? Thank you.
Yes, Sarah.
I kind of want to answer this because I studied international relations. Ever since I was a kid, a young girl, I wanted to be in politics and I wanted to work in the public sector. I didn't really, because I am preparing for that for a later stage in my life, because I know how these things go and I need to have children and professional experience and be my own boss, and I have to tick a lot of things before I can tackle politics, not to get everything in my face, how I am, how I don't know anything about the real world before I go and be smart about how the real world looks like. So yeah, I definitely think there is a lot of us that, also goes with the other question, what can you do? What can the government do? Well, I know what I can do, and I know what I can, contribute to progression of the IT sector, and to be an advocate that the government is not some bad guy here to get you and your taxes, but it's actually someone that you should work towards being more beneficial. The country has to be good for you to have a good life. And I think that in terms of what can if we ever what can the public sector do to attract more people. I think that this is an excuse that there cannot be more flexibility. I was a trainee at the European Commission. They have flexible working hours. They are very much a public sector kind of organization, and they can come. They have, I think, 4 core hours per day where everyone has to be there. But besides these 4 core hours, that all the meetings then happen. They can move around and do their schedule as they want to. They can work remotely much more easily. I don't know, their IT guys, I guess, are just much more, I don't know, they set up the systems differently. They don't use, in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we were using software that was last updated in 1993 for our core software. And then when you asked, hello, they said, well, at least it's so old that, nobody really touches it anymore, and it's safe for sure, these kind of excuses. So I think that the public sector itself has a lot of things here to do, a lot of excuses on so many levels throughout institutions, that I think we are always wrapping around the same problem. Also, to touch what the first question was, right? This IT. You said that that we need these translators between management and IT because ITs are special. I think this is so bad. I think this is the core of the problem. It's the digital competence of people. This is something that is changing. There shouldn't be any translators. It's because people are tuning off everything that is technical. It's like, oh, this is too hard. Don't give me the details. I've spoken with HR people that don't know what their company develops or in which technologies. This is sad. Imagine this being in any other company. What does your company do? I don't know. I mean, they come to work. It's just, you need to know these things, and we're tuning this out. And I think the younger generation, because we are a little bit more digitally literate from the get-go, because I could write my name on a keyboard before I did on paper. Obviously, some things are way more intuitive to me. I can adapt to a new software easily. I don't need 14 courses to, so that you can change the software that I'm working with. So I think that these things will also get better. That when the generations, when the people that are involved in all the layers, in all the of public and private sector, are just going to be more digitally literate. And here in Slovenia, we are very, very educated in terms of formal education, but in terms of digital literacy, we are really lagging behind. And I think this is really something that we should also tackle more, to empower also everyone that, this is not something to be afraid. When I started when I opened my SPE, I wanted to do digitalization and to empower and to actually educate employees, and so many times I've gotten, but that means I have to learn a new software? Oh my God, this is just going to be so hard. I've heard companies that actually have invested in systems that nobody was using because they were using the old ones because they were easier. And this is something that, you know, also goes in hand with company culture. I mean, of course, we have to treat each other as family, but not in this sense that, you know, this is still a professional environment and you cannot be lagging the whole company behind just because you
Somebody
are...
doesn't.
Yeah, or just because it's too much for you to learn a new software. I mean, this is just unimaginable for someone like me, that, you know, you are sticking with 10, 15 years old processes just because it's too much effort for you to learn new ones. And this is, it's sad, but, you know, I know it's hard to hear, but it's something that is really keeping us sometimes, you know, in loops where we see that there is no we think that there is no escape, when in reality it's, you know, allowing this kind of, you know, not learning new things on the job. And here developers that have to learn new things to be good developers are such a disrupt to this market, you know, because you are not, a lot of companies are not able to give them the challenges that they need to be constantly learning, to be actually good developers and to keeping up to date with technology.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Any other question, maybe? No? Okay, so let's wrap this up. Okay, Bran.
So, on behalf of all three organizers, I like to thank Anja Žibert, all of our panelists. I think, this is not a Zoom meeting. This is not. This is a live event. So don't leave, and we will warmly welcome you at the upper floor. The director said by the piano.
Yeah, you'll find.
We'll find. Okay. And I think that we should grab the opportunity to talk with the panelists even more. And of course that we network all together. Thank you very much for coming again. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.